All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. I'm TechMan16.
And I'm the Kirkmeister.
And I'm Handy. And I don't get an introduction.
No, he doesn't. Not at all.
I just chime in.
We got a good show for you today. We've got Boogeyman from Server 34. He's going to talk about his recent developments and his playstyle. And then we're going to switch on over back to Server 12. We got some of the high rollers here to talk with us about their server politics and what's going on and how they see their server progressing in the near future. And we can hype them up and ask them to hype up their alliances and their coalitions. But first and foremost, let's get into Server 34. So recently, Boogeyman, he went solo from the previous alliance, which was RMU, right, Boogie?
Yeah, not the reason why I went solo though. What's going on?
What's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. It's not the reason you went solo, but your previous alliance was RMU.
Yes, RMU.
All right, but you're now solo in HSA. What does that stand for?
Hit Squad Assassins.
It's guys.
Get some.
All right.
It doesn't really matter to me, man. It's just a tag.
Don't on our server we have another one, something similar like SFHS, like Starfleet Hit Squad or something like that?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Anyways, man, so you've gone solo. People have compared you to Chef, and just wanted to know what's the difference between you and Chef in terms of your gameplay.
Well, the difference is if I was just gunning for whatever he's gunning for, I would literally have a lot higher PvP stats for one. You know, most of the time I sit back respectfully. I don't just go cause drama. You know, Chef has changed his game style a lot over the past year. Have respect for the guy. You know, but I was doing this a long time ago when the game first started. I've had to do this several times. And I only target ignorance. You know, that's what it is to me. It's ignorance. It's about respect to me. You leave me about my business. I follow your so-called ROE on this server.
I'm curious, between you and MCRN, what did they do before you started hitting them to disrespect you?
This all boils down to a base getting robbed and somebody getting hit OPL and crying over spilt milk.
So you raided somebody and then you hit somebody else OPL.
Yes.
And they started coming after you.
Well, yes, kind of. The reason why I left RMU, it goes back to the base situation. That's the real reason where this all stirred up. And my problem with the whole situation is the way it was all handled. You know, the reality is bases are bases, man. You shield or share. You know, telling me I can't rob somebody's base would be like telling Dark they can't rob somebody's base, you know? Or telling me I can't hit OPL. It's the same thing to me. That's how I look at it. And I'm the type of player that's always been like, if I can't get that out of that base, how can I get it out of that base? Because I'm not going to leave food sitting on the table. That's how I look at it. So yes, I will message friends. You know, I will message a bigger player that I know. I will be like, hey, you want to come and eat? I will share a meal before I let it go bad on the table. So that's where this all boiled down to. They're not happy because I messaged Kevin. I messaged actually 4 different people before that happened. I messaged 4 different people from different alliances that I know. Kevin's the one that answered. So I shared the base with Kevin. They're just mad because it turned into a shootout, etc. But the bottom line is why are you mad at me for robbing the base instead of your guy for not shielding? Let's go back to level 15. You know, let's go back to level 15 and really practice shield discipline.
I'm curious, what did they say? So
man, I got called a piece of some kind of piece of shit from Bird Q.
For raiding?
Yeah, that's what it was. I was a special kind of piece of shit for sharing a base with Dark. And
really?
I'm just sitting here in my head, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, but I talked to Bird and I kind of explained the situation to him because I do reach out to people and I do talk. And I'm just trying to explain to him, look, man, I'm looking for food. I'm working on
Dude,
resource rated right
it
now.
should be no explanation needed. Bird does
Exactly.
not eat an explanation.
Exactly. And this is why I left RMU. I feel really disappointed and let down. I love the team, man. I helped that team for a long time. I love that team. I love the guys there.
How did RMU let you down?
How did they let me down? Because instead of my boy that I fought for years on this server saying, hey, screw you, tell your boy to chill, it was a let's drop your promotion status. All I seen was a red thing flash on the screen.
Now, I thought that they demoted you because of the deep space hits.
That's what it was. That's what it was. But the thing was, I didn't really care about title because I stepped down from Calm there about 6 months ago because I was dealing with other things. And I didn't feel I could give them the attention that I should as a Calm at that time. So I respectfully stepped down and let somebody else fill that spot. Because, I'm real with them. So dropping me from Premier down doesn't really matter, does it? What's that mean? I mean, come on.
It doesn't mean anything. It's kind of petty. But
it's irrelevant.
But the main issue here would have been the deep space. So, like, the entire alliance respecting the deep space agreement, the gentleman's agreement.
That was after I left RMU.
And it was widely known that that the deep space agreement we were already having conversations about.
I don't know about that. I'm not on none of your channels.
What's that?
I don't know about all that. I've not been on none of your channels. And I know for a fact one thing, it got addressed real fast once I showed up out there. I think it took about 2 hits. Then it really got stirred up.
We were already in the middle of the conversation.
That's good, but the problem to me is this, all right? You want to talk about this, these ROE manipulations, all right? That's all this is for personal gain. That's all it is. It's a ROE manipulate the benefits of selected few on this server. I do not support it, and I never will. Nobody here is paying my game time. Don't expect me to follow fuck rules. I'm not going to. I didn't at level 50. I sat back and played that game at level 40, okay, just to see how it played out. And then I watched how it played out. And I decided at that time I'm not going to do that at level 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or any level because it's not beneficial to the server. Now, I respect Yarda. Let me tell you why I respect Yarda. Because Yarda benefits everybody. And even there, I have to watch my limits when I'm mining OPL. That's a fact. But don't expect me to agree to your arrangement. Because that's all it is an arrangement. It's not ROE. You guys are just trying to manipulate, not you personally, but the server council, the high mighty council, are just trying to manipulate that to be ROE.
Hey, TwistedEvil, I saw you raised your hand. Do you have something to say, buddy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
How you been, buddy?
Good. Hey, so, yeah, I mean, like Handy said, I mean, we were already in the mix of talking about that kind of stuff, like, before he even got, drop tags and stuff. I mean, we were already kind of in the mix of that, but it's not, I mean, Berg, man, he whines about everything. You hit him OPL, he's going to say, oh, I was expecting somebody from not in TC to hit.
It wasn't Berg I hit OPL. Let's clarify that real quick. It was Love PK.
I'm just saying that it's typical of Berg to complain about everything. He's always going to find an excuse about everything. And he's always going to say you're a special kind of piece of shit. So, because I've hit him multiple times OPL, and he says the same thing to me.
How many times have you been called a special piece of shit by Berg?
Oh, that was the first time I've been called that by him. But no, it was more. He said it takes a real special piece of shit to raid a base with Dark. That's what it was. He didn't. Yeah, he that's how he said it. But that was over a base, not over.
So he's basically talking shit about Dark. That anybody who raids with Dark is a special piece of shit.
That's what I heard.
I kind of looked at it like, how are you going to tell me who to eat a meal with, man? All right, that's how I looked at it because anybody. Hey, Twisted, you've known me forever. Handy, you've known me forever. If there's food on the table, do I hesitate? No, I'm gonna eat.
No, man, you share a meal too, which is nice. I like that about you, man. You're always willing to share a meal. And the thing is like, Dark are good raiders.
Yeah.
They're great raiders. And so for you to reach out to them and say, hey, I got this tasty little snack I need help opening up.
Oh, 13 billion. 13 billion. We're not just talking a little snack. 13 billion. They expect me to leave it sitting on the
Hey,
table.
well, look, so let's not. Here's the like, I'm totally with you guys on pretty much everything you're saying, but I don't want to get too far off topic. The question I want to throw out there before we get too deep in this rabbit hole is, Boogie, do you have a history like a lot? So let me just put this clarifying statement out there. There's a lot of people that have certain histories with certain alliances. Like there's certain alliances I have history with, and so it's always like finger on the trigger thing whenever you're dealing with them. Do you have some sort of history with MCRN that
No, we was
was
cool.
like that
We was cool.
never really an issue until this point? There was never really like a big deal.
Never. Me and MCRM has always been good. I've been good with Crash. I was good with Cube/Beam when it started. Hell, I used to help Brad build that team back in the day. I gave him players when we first started. I always was respectful with them. So, I mean, I'm talking about Brad. They probably don't even know who started Cube. You know what I mean? Most of these guys. But I mean, I've always been good with them. I've never had a problem. Me and Crash, there's been a little bit of BS. He got mad one time when I gave Handy a spot in Eisenhorn. There's been a few little issues over the years, but it's always been pretty good between me and Crash. He might get mad at me every once in a while, but it's just Boogie, he knows that's how I play. And it's never really nothing ignorant and disrespectful unless ignorance and disrespect takes place. And then I'm just straight, okay, let's do it. I don't hesitate. I'm not scared to fly solo. I'm not scared to fly in a team. I'm not scared of a 1.4 build team. It doesn't scare me. I know they can't affect me. It's like they thought they had a big old payday when I was sitting with $3 billion in my base worth of resource, straight Tryndale. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna slam his base and hate drill him. You hear him talking all the time about, oh, run, chef, run. There goes another reload. Shit, who's wasting reloads now? You know what I mean? That was my only weakness. I dumped that to one of my homeboys. Now what you guys gonna do? You gonna sit there and hit my empty base over and over while I'm out slapping your ships? Go ahead. It's just games, man. It's a game. There's strategies to it. They've made this game to where you can survive under fire from a 1.4 build team. Knowing how to do that, that's the trick. I learned that a long time ago.
So, Boogie, what's kind of your end game? Because I know you're kind of solo right now. Do you want to go back to a team, or do you want to just do? Go ahead.
I don't know what's going to happen. Personally, I won't ever bring my issues into somebody else's house. I won't do that. I've had several alliances ask me to join them since I left, since all this has started. Several of them. And it's sad, a lot of these guys are scared with all the political BS going on in the server to even talk in GC nowadays. Oh, I don't want to be associated with, but I got all these PMs. And it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. It just depends on if Crash and them want me to keep slapping them, waking up, hitting 30 before breakfast, going back, sweeping their TCs every day and whatnot.
Well, I can tell you this, that MCRN is very hard-headed, and even at their detriment, they will continue to war with you. Just don't have to capitulate.
Well, they're going to hate. The reality is I don't care. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. I got all my research and building going. I'm going to continue.
I honestly believe that they don't care much either. I mean, I'm sure they have a couple players that are annoyed at using them, but in the grand scheme of things, I doubt they care too much. Otherwise, they probably would have been reaching out more and whatnot.
I don't think they care either. If they have Chef hitting them and another single alliance player like Boogie, I don't think they care very much at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're already getting hit, so what's another hit here?
I'm not going to change on my stance on things, honestly. I haven't since I started playing this game, and I'm not about to. If you're going to sit here and play stupid games with me over your floating warship loopholes and crying over OPL or crying because I slapped your base open with a friend, I don't care. I'll give you a reason to complain. Now you got a valid reason to complain. I just hit 36 of your ships in 16 minutes before I ate breakfast. There's a reason to complain. Now you got something to cry about, something to bitch about. Go ahead. Valid point, okay? There, you got a valid reason to complain and cry. You know, and I can keep doing it. I don't care. I'm not emotionally attached.
Whoever you have a problem with, it seems MCRN is the majority of your problem. If they reached out to you to talk and say, "Hey, let's cease hostilities," you'd listen to their pitch,
Yeah, I
and
already said I
hopefully.
would. Yeah, of course I would. It's I'm not necessarily going to keep going forever just to be a dick. You know, I mean, that's not what I care about. 95% of the time, I'm sitting doing the same thing everybody else is, playing Farmville. You know, 95% of the time, you don't hear nothing about me. The only time you hear something about Boogie is when I reach level 50, level 60, level. That's the only time. And every time the increase happens where I progress to the next stage of the game, I don't change the way I play, which is I hit OPL. Okay, I hit OPL. It's been a huge part of my gameplay because I don't want to spend all that time mining all day long. I'm sorry. I go get my dailies and that's it. I'm out. I get the rest of that from other people. I mine miners. That's what I do. I mine miners. And it's worked pretty effectively for me so far, obviously. I don't spend a lot of money here and I keep progressing to the next level. So I'm doing okay with my strategy of how I'm playing this game. And I just don't like people basically telling me, hey, you're wrong for playing the game how you play it, especially when I'm honestly following within the true ROE of this server. I don't appreciate being treated like I'm some D-bag just slapping everybody to be a jerk. And that's what I get every time. It's like clockwork. Every time I progress to the next stage of this level, something happens. So, and this time it just happened to be MCRN complaining. I actually got a lot of respect for some alliances right now that I didn't have a lot of respect for before all this because of how they've acted about it. You know, I really do. Dark's one of them, Nona. I'm like, honestly, your guys really have been respectful about the whole situation. VHC, Rogue. So many of the guys out there. The only one that started acting up, getting butt hurt, and starting to hate drill me over it was MCRN. And I was actually surprised that it was them that did it this time. I thought it would be someone else.
All right, man, Boog. Thanks for joining us today. We're gonna move on to our Server 12 folks, but feel free to come back on. Maybe we'll get MCRN on at the same time. We could hash something out. Sound good?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Have fun, man. You guys be safe.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, that was Boogie. Remember, talk to him if you got a problem. He seems like a reasonable dude. All right, I'd like to invite our Server 12 folks. And we'll do some introductions. We'll start with Sharoc. Sharoc, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Or do you, okay. Maybe people have different pronunciations of their handles. All right, and you're from. Jeez, let me see if I remember this correctly. You're from Future.
That's right. I'm one of the admirals there at Future.
Awesome. Yes, I got it. I can remember things. Hey, JaneTheWay, welcome back. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. So JaneTheWay is going to take place of Vilsan because Vilsan had a birthday yesterday. So happy belated birthday to you! And I'm pretty sure he was up partying all night, so he wouldn't be able to make this podcast. Where's everybody else? Gooch, Bundy, guys.
It looks like they've got their hand raised.
Well, I invited them to speak, but they just have to click accept.
They don't want to.
All right, Gooch is in. Hey, Gooch, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Gooch is from Sin, right?
Yep, Admiral of the Syndicate.
All right. Oh, I'm learning, man. I'm learning the Server 12 stuff. And Bundy from DT. Bundy, how you doing?
Really good. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. All right, so to recap for the Server 34 audience who may or may not have captured who is with whom. So JaneTheWay is allied with Bundy, right? And Sharoc is allied with Gooch. Is that right? Based on your coalition?
That's right. Yep, that's right.
I'm learning.
And just to be clear, I did send Tech a cheat sheet yesterday, so
Yes. Well, it was me asking.
Tech, you're trying to play it off like you remembered all this?
Well, I had to fuck.
yeah, I just had to throw some. I needed to throw a little shade out there.
Excellent.
This is a terrible show.
This is yeah. It's a dumpster fire. It's according to Server 12. It's a total dumpster fire.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so let's kind of roll back some of the stuff that was said in the first podcast with Riker, Bird, and Lexi and Jansen. I want to open up the floor to anybody who wants to talk about how did the coalitions kind of form the way they formed, and why? And is there any? Are you guys generally friends with one another? Do you guys talk, or is it strictly kind of like, yeah, I don't really talk to the other side? Why don't we start off with Bundy?
Yeah, I talk to everybody here who's in this group. I'd say I have good relationships with everybody. We also fight pretty hard when we all have to, but I can say that I would genuinely say everybody here is a friend or a good acquaintance.
So in that case, everybody here, do they have a voice in the ROE that was created, or the rules of engagement?
For the server?
Yeah, for the server.
Gotta remember is that, well, I don't think was brought up previously. That started from the first ever server war with alliances that were involved, all created initially, other in on it, and now it is what you see today.
It started off as the GSA, right, Gooch?
Yeah, it was the GSA with, I think, what was it, Light, Zero, a couple other people, that UFS, a couple other alliances that aren't around right now, like Nova.
Top G.
Yeah.
Let me ask a quick question. Let me get this straight. So you're following an ROE that was created. All the top alliances now, or the most active, are basically following an ROE that was created by other alliances a long time ago?
Yeah, I think they came up with it for their way to end their server war. And then alliances just were like, hey, I want those protections too. I want my miners protected too. Because everyone still had their own ROEs. You could be it for my election, you could be part of that ROE, or you could have your own ROE, which for the most part people respected other people's ROEs. I won't throw shade at the people who didn't, but some people didn't respect, hey, I don't like this guy's ROE, and it became a whole thing back then too, which was part of leading to another war. But I mean, the ROE we have today really started from the first server war.
My recollection of it too is it became, once the diplo server was formed, it became kind of a living document sort of as the server progressed.
Right, so wording changed over time, or things were added. Give us a Cliff Notes version real quick of your ROE.
I'll let Sharoc or Gooch do that. They know it way better than I do.
I mean, the most basic. I mean, now it gets a little out of hand with some of the things people want, but the most basic was just, if a base is being raided, because I think people weren't being civil back then during a base raid. Like the person would get online, bubble, what have you, would be completely drained, and then fights would continue on, spill out of that system. People would hit ships on nodes just because. So I think the most basic of it was just, don't be a dick. If the guy gets online and bubbles, fighting's over. Yeah, the little spillover happens. But that was the most basic of that. OPL, if someone's on a node in their OPL, or they're 0 for 4 hours and you need a node, you can knock them off of it. But, as the game has progressed, new aspects have been added to the game itself. So people had other issues that brought up issues within alliances. So they were ultimately added, like armadas, being obscene in GC. That's something that's on there. People that come in there and want to say racial things or talk crazy. That was added, some not being obscene in there. But I mean, I don't know. Some of the rules are getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so on the previous podcast, going back a couple podcasts, trying to understand why some people call it the Care Bear server. Do you guys want to walk back some of the rules? Like, I know we discussed you can defend your own base. If you have a warship mining, you got to give like 30 minutes notice before you can blow up the warship. What the rules are in deep space. You don't touch anybody in deep space. Things like that.
No, there is no deep space, dark space rules. I mean, like for instance, I don't hit Sharoc, I don't hit Bundy. There's certain people I don't hit just because we have no reason to. I got no reason to hit Bundy. He doesn't touch me. I don't touch Sharoc. Certain people, they hit me, I might hit them, but there is no gentleman's agreement. There's no rule in dark space. If you want to come up there and hit OPLs, go ahead. You want to be that guy to hit a 0 node when there's 10 other nodes open, there's the one guy sitting there mining, go ahead. It's a dick move, but there is no rules in dark space. And I mean, as for the defend your base thing, it's not even a rule. I think people have the misconception because so many people have done stupid things in defense of their base. I've defended my base. I've had people try to bubble bully me all the time, and I'll sit there and defend it. You want to send 7 guys to the base, no problem. I'm going to defend my base from you. But I think the issue is how they talked in that first podcast was, people want to go out and say, all right, I'm going to defend my base, but I'm going to kill every tag and maybe a tag associated with that tag. And then now people just think it's a rule. It's nothing we've voted on, discussed. It's just one of those things where it's become a rule that's not a rule.
I'm curious, do you have it written down somewhere, like the server ROE? Do you have like a Discord server where you guys can talk about it, have it actually posted, the actual rules?
Yeah, it's on the Diplo server. It's like, I think it's just 9 rules. I mean, I don't know if I can link here to you guys to see it, or I can just send it to you personally, Handy.
A screenshot would be fine or something like that. You can actually drop it in the podcast chat.
Yeah, I got me like
see what it says. That way everybody can see it. I just think it's interesting. That's all, that people misconstrue it and add in rules and make it more restrictive, and just like, it's interesting to me that there's such a common misconception about your server's ROE. Strange.
So in regards to the coalition, or the coalitions that you guys have, now the guys that we had on previously, and Bundy, you alluded to this, that you talk with everybody, but the guys previously aren't necessarily in leadership, or if they are, they have mentioned that the coalitions don't really talk with one another. There's no crosstalk between, whatever you want to call it, Syndicate 1, Syndicate 2, but you mentioned that there is crosstalk among leadership, and has that been like good talk where you can allow people to do more PvP, or are you guys all satisfied with what seems to be a lack of PvP on the server? And Sharoc, you can answer that question.
I mean, I think that being a part of leadership is going to be, you have to talk to the admirals and premiers and other things from the other alliances. I don't necessarily think that it's, oh, we hate them and they're the bad guy. Like that's not at the end of the day how it is. We had some disagreements, some issues with some alliances, and they've kind of reined in their play, I guess, their play styles a little bit, and just becomes, it is what it is. I mean, I have no issues with talking to anybody. I never have. If somebody comes to me with an issue, usually I'm the first one to say, hey, my guys, stop being dicks. Like, don't do that.
Okay. Bundy, how about you?
I agree with Sharoc, but to your point about the PvP, I think there's limited opportunities for PvP on the server, and I think the territory thing has been a really good outlet for those of us who are looking for PvP. For me, outside of the territory thing, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. How many of you guys want more PvP, or do you want more PvP?
I'd like to see more of it. I think it'll happen naturally. Probably on our server, it'll stay more around territory and base raids.
Okay. All right, Twisted. You have a question, right? You raised your hand.
Yeah, so I mean, do you guys were saying that there's like a lot of old rules and stuff like that that you guys follow to this day, but you're not really kind of happy with it. I mean, why not change it? I mean, I know for our server, Nona got to a point where we were like, you know what, all these like different things, this index, this huge list of rules, like, the basic form is just don't be a dick. Like, if don't hit somebody unless you need whatever they've got, or if you need to mine in their OPL, you can hit them, go for it. But don't just go out of your way and be a dick about it, And so those were kind of the things we call it the simplified ROE. And it just puts the power back to the players. But the root thing is just don't be a dick. So, if you guys are so frustrated with some of these older rules, why not make the change? Why not just say, hey, this is what we're going to do from here on forward, and get your coalition, or whatever you guys call it, your syndicate, to follow that same suit? Because it took a couple months, Handy, before other alliances started to adopt it?
Yeah. Well, some actually kind of did it right away. There were a couple alliances that joined the simplified version pretty much right away. And then, really it kind of seems like almost every major alliance kind of follows our simplified ROE in one form or another. They may not call it that, but at the end of the day, that's what it is.
I don't think people have an issue with the original rule set. I mean, to me, it's fine. Not hitting
Well, I can tell you right now, just from skimming it, there are way too many words.
Yeah, I mean, what you're looking at now is not the original rule set. The original rule set would have been just that first screenshot. It was literally enough for one screenshot. And that's how people played for about a year. And then you started getting people, like I said, people that had their own ROE. And then people that followed that ROE started going back and forth about it. And then people wanted to see a way, how can we get everybody together? How can we make this one server? And then, like was brought up in the first podcast, you get guys that just want to, hey, I read this rule, so here's a loophole, here's this, here's that. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, OPL is OPL, that's it, that's the rule. And then everyone find a loophole, everyone wants to.
We've experienced this ourselves, and the truth is, it can all be kind of encapsulated by saying, don't be an asshole, don't be a dick. You know what I mean? If you're going to find loopholes in ROE, a simple ROE, then you're just being a dick. And you know what? We're going to fight against that. I mean, that's our stance on it. I would encourage other people to kind of do the same. That way you can have a very simple ROE and not have 4 screenshots, but maybe condense it to get rid of a lot of the words, the mumbo jumbo. Because in my opinion, and I may be wrong, but in my opinion, it makes it more confusing. Even when you spell things out very specific, it's like California law. You know what I mean? It's like there's rules and laws that, I mean, you got to go to school for like 10 years just to be able to read the law book.
Well, that's what happens when you get to the point where you're trying to appeal. Everyone's always trying to appeal to everyone, and sometimes, unfortunately, you're going to have to say, "Hey, man, we're sorry, but we don't care." Like that, you can just be mad, but the majority agree to this, and so you and 3 other people whining about it. I mean, you can either just get over it, you can get glad in the same pants you got mad in, or people are just going to steamroll you. And I think once we started doing that and we got to the point where people understood that, no offense, but if you're a level 28 at this point in our server, it's if you're a level 28 at this point in our server, then I'm sorry, but your opinion's not going to hold the same for those who are a lot more invested and have time invested. And I think once people realize they're I hate to say this and it sounds elitist, but I mean, I don't even fall into the demographic myself. So when you realize your place as far as decisions go, people may value my opinion, but at the end of the day, people are the bigger players are the ones that are going to set the tone for the server. And whatever that tone is, I can either go with it or have a really hard time playing.
I mean, issue with that is who throws something out there, and then people try to brush it aside, how you're saying, in a nicer way, not just the sorry, your opinion doesn't matter. But then that's when you get like their Commodore, Premier, or the guy has buddies with him from so and so alliance, or someone with it, even in your own alliance, being like, "Hey, I saw that, I agree with it," and then now all of a sudden you get that trickle down effect where the dude brushing you aside is the a-hole that is not looking to progress and make the server better, but make it worse, and then it just ends up turning into a shit show anyways. So I mean, people may agree or disagree. Like, I mean, the one thing, and people always think, the whole, oh, they hate each other. I agree with DT's stance when they wanted people in their alliance to deal with their own. If you hit somebody dirty, you deal with it between that player and yourself. Don't bring it into Diplo. Don't make it a whole thing. But, unfortunately, some people, most of them, yeah, they dealt with their issues. A few people, they would do something dirty. You'd have an admiral message them. Everybody would be messaging that person. They don't respond. 2 weeks go by. You hit up DT's leadership. Oh, he has to deal with it. And they wouldn't. And then, now it turned to DT has their own Diplo team and is in that server. But I agreed with that. I would love it if more players could just deal with it between themselves and stop bringing it to make us have a second job on Discord. But, unfortunately, it didn't go that way. And now we're sitting here writing, a novel of rules.
Gooch, if you look back for the last 2 weeks, most of the stuff that's been posted there could have been resolved between players.
100%. That's why I wish more people would do that and just deal with it. Because you get a lot of guys, they'll get hit dirty. Happened with one of my guys, hit someone by accident, messaged the guy, offered him an apology up front, and said, whatever you want from me, you can get it. A few hours later, in Diplo, boom, it gets posted. And I was like, dude, my guy already apologized. He messaged your player for what he wants as, to recompense this. Just have him message him and deal with it. That's the way it should go, in my opinion. But, I mean, some things, okay, they're a little bit different and need to be handled by leadership. But it would be great if most players can just handle it with the guy that it happened with if he's being cool about it.
So it sounds to me like some of these people that are Commodores and Admirals in a fucking mobile game that we play on our phones and iPads and BlueStacks, it really makes them feel important, so they run it to the nth degree. That's what I'm getting from it.
Well, I mean, some players lie too, not for nothing. I mean, it happens in every line. So I'm not just saying it's other line. It happens in mine where a guy will post a pic, tell me his version of the story, then I get a screenshot that shows the opposite version. It's like, dude, the guy and ask you what you want. Go handle it with him. Why are you bringing it here and making us post it in Diplo? And I mean, that happens in every alliance where a guy just feels a certain type of way. Screw that. I want blood. And realistically, it's like, dude, you could have handled it with that guy. So I thought I'm sure there's a few that feel that way, but for the most part, it's not like we purposely, not like Bundy brings something to the table because he wants to. It's because the guy told him a story that may not be true. I bring something, it may not be true. It happens across the board, but more people just need to deal with it. We're all, for the most part, adults that play this game. I'm sure some servers have kids and teenagers playing, but I mean, in real life, if you have an issue, you deal with it with who you got to deal with. You don't call the cops because your credit card company overcharged you on something.
Good example.
I can appreciate that. So I've been the Commodore of one of the most powerful alliances in our server. I've been around forever and a day. I know I speak personally to the admirals and the commodores, to all the biggest alliances for the most part. I know them all. I'm a little up there in level, so I mean, I'm very aware of what you're facing. Don't get me wrong. But the thing is what I'm saying is that all these things that you are describing, we have dealt with that, and we've moved past that. And so how do we move past that? Is basically by telling these people every time they had something happen that go sort it out, message the person, and if the people didn't want to chill the hell out, we would kick them or we would just ignore them, and those people just slowly started falling off the map. And so we still have a few whiners, but for the most part at this point, we have our own issues, but to be honest, the server runs quite smoothly at this point, contrary to what some people think. And the reason those people think that way is because they're generally the ones starting the shit. So yeah, I mean, I know it's not just you and the people here, but it's just the people that are listening. To those of you who are listening, you need to start managing your players better. If every day you're having players come and whine and cry to you, they're not doing it because of the players. They're doing it because you've set a precedent and because you accept it, and they believe that you can accept it, and they know that that's okay. So you need to look at how you're handling things, and you need to look at it from a management perspective, because I'm going to tell you right now, if I was in Handy's alliance and some of this stuff happened, Handy would flat out tell me that I could either chill the hell out or I could go find another team. And I think that's more of that needs to happen.
No, I mean we take that approach in a syndicate before, not so much the last alliance I was a part of. But there's people who bring things. I'm just either me or one of my commodores will just be like, yeah, no, we're not gonna pursue that. And then you get the person, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, you're bringing a non-issue. We're not gonna pursue it. And sorry, I've had a couple, at least once a week, you get something posted in our channel where they want us to pursue it, and we're just like, nah, dude, that's not even an issue. Or we'll find out why they're wrong. We'll see, hey, dude, if you click that little red X on the bottom of the box, you actually were OTL, you had cargo. And you're like, oh, okay, great, sorry about that. But, like I said, once in a while you get that one guy that just, you can tell it was an issue between him and another player, and they were both being jerks about it, so we don't even try to bother with it. And I'm sure the other groups do that too. A lot of stuff we deal with privately. I've talked with Bundy privately. Back in the day when JaneTheWay was an admiral of an alliance, we talked privately about issues. I mean, not everything is always brought to Diplo where people are like, oh, they hate each other, they don't talk. We talk, but we talk in PMs for the most part, because we don't want to sit there and see people posting GIFs and adding things that just make it worse. So everyone that's in this room from my server, we talk all the time in PMs about issues. And even people who aren't here that are part of the Diplo teams, I'm sure Sharoc has a million PMs with these guys. Bundy probably has them. Even JaneTheWay probably still has a bunch of PMs from people that you never see in Diplo, but we handle issues. And we definitely do talk across the board. And I don't think anyone in this room hates the other leadership team or vice versa. I mean, I could be wrong. Someone could hate me. But that's their own personal issue to hate somebody in a
Right.
mobile game. But
As far as I've read on this Diplo, everybody hates you, Gooch.
yeah, probably.
Boogie, go ahead, buddy. You had a question.
All right, you're saying basically you need OPL, go get OPL, don't be a dick about it, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, here's the problem with that, all right? Your perception of being a dick about it and everybody else on the servers is going to be totally different. We're all different people. Just like when I went out and hit PK OPL, my perception of it is, look, I'm hitting 38 now. I'm about to start hitting 39. I need to get a little bit stocked up for when I make that move. I'm not out there constantly targeting MCRN or any alliance for that factor. None of them, okay? I hit everybody equally.
The flip side of that is you're not going to be able to refine it right away.
I get that.
You're probably a year away from.
It depends, but I've got less than 1 million of each already. That's it. So it's like I'm not being a dick about it. You see what I'm saying? But in their perspective, I'm being a dick about it. That's my point I'm trying to make.
Well, I guess it just depends on how much you're hunting. You know
I
what I
hit him
mean?
once.
If like, you know, you're out hunting OPL in deep space, then you're being a dick because it's just not necessary.
It's not necessary to your game progress because you already got it. But to me, it's the way I've always played the game and stay progressing. And I'm not out there being a dick about it. You know, I randomly go out there, make a trip here and there, grab a little bit to get me ready for my next levels. That's all I do. I don't constantly take trips out there hitting people over and over all day long. That's never happened.
You guys sound like how our server started with all these rules, just FYI.
Well, no, this is something our server's been going through a lot with it for a long time. This is just rekindled flames. That's all this is.
It just sounds like the Warp 40 gentleman's agreement. Just sounds just like that, what we had on our server back in the day.
Yep, exactly. And I sat back for that one and I watched how it played out. Then I watched every player fighting for nodes when I got there getting hit 1 OPL. And nobody fighting to protect it. So I'm not going to ever agree to one of those arrangements again. And I'm sorry, but that's my right. That's my game. And I'm still following ROE, but presented to the server as a dick because of the entitlement that's been placed on it for other players.
It's not the entitlement. That's
It
what I'm
is.
trying to tell you. No, I'm
It
telling you,
really
it's not
is.
though. No,
Then
Boogie.
what is it? Because honestly,
It's need. It's about need. You just don't need that.
how can you say I don't need it when I'm going to use every bit of it? It's not going to get wasted. Who are you to say that I don't need something in the game that's available to me? That's my point. You know, bottom line is I'm going to use it, right?
Fair enough. I agree with you to a point. But when you actually get to the point where you're even able to refine the 4G mats, just by mining for an hour a day, you'll have way more than enough than you'll ever need, because 4G mats are not.
If that is the case, then why are people complaining about it, acting like it's affecting their dailies when they're 200k OPL?
Because they're being silly.
Yeah, as somebody who's at 41, I can tell you that the only time I ever mine G4 is if it's for a mining event, and even then, it's only if it helps me.
That's normally how I'm sitting too.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, though. When you start talking about, are you at the point where you can get on? What level are you right now?
I'm 38, almost 39.
So you can't even. So here's the thing: you can't even get uncommon mats until you get to 41, and even then, it's worse than the G3 refinery. So you're spending 50,000 you're 50,000 raw mats, and you may get 10, 12, 13 uncommon. And here's the kicker: if you look at when you actually get up to the level and you start using G4 stuff, just to take one gun from 39 to 40 is about 1,100 uncommon gas.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
So at that point, you're looking at it's not. I hear what you're saying, and
So
I
how am I
agree.
wrong
I
for
definitely
preparing for
agree.
that?
Hold on a minute, let me finish, please. So I agree with what you're saying. Like, you know, hey man, like OPL is OPL, and I truly believe that, which is why now that deep space is just, if you're OPL, you're getting hit OPL. It's just normal, you know, OPL ROE, just like anywhere else. I agree with it, but to a degree, what Handy is saying is true, and the people that are up at that level realize that the only reason people are mining that stuff is because they really like to mine, or there's someone like MCRN who has a real big, what's the word I'm looking for? They really enjoy winning, like Latinum Rush and stuff like that as an alliance.
Good to know.
Yeah, so I mean, I see what you're saying, and I was thinking kind of the same thing, but once I got to the point, like 41, I'll be pushing to 42 pretty soon, you realize that
Congrats.
the mats that you need, you don't really get through refining. You have to get them through events and, you know, scrapping ships and other stuff, so.
And not only that, you don't need a whole lot of those mats. I mean, like, for instance, you were saying to go upgrade this or that. Well, it's not the limiting factor anymore. So typically 95% of players are going to not be limited by the 4-star mats. They're going to be limited by something else, like ship parts, for example, are the huge limiting factor in above level 40. So if you're
True.
building a 4-star ship, for example, you're going to be limited by ship parts. And then upgrading your base and whatnot, because of how much parse steel and tri and dilithium you need, you're going to get plenty of the 4-star mats before you'll have the other stuff that you need to be able to click that upgrade button. So what I'm saying is quote unquote going after 4-star OPL raw materials. It's not necessary, because it's never the limiting factor. You're always going to be waiting on something else.
Handy, I think that's a really good point that most people just don't understand. And we'll get back to the Server 12 discussion, but it's the under 39 crowd that thinks if I just hit a bunch of OPL 4-star, I'm going to get a bunch of 4-star to refine. But in reality, when you hit the 40s, it's not the limiting factor. And in fact, nobody really wants to mine the 4-star mats because they just do it for dailies, and you really get everything from your events, or you buy it. And the limiting factor is you got to kill all those ships to get all those parts to refine, because you have an extra refinery in that 40 zone. Anyways, let's get back to Server 12. So thanks, Boogie. I appreciate the clarification. But so guys, what's to prevent? And first of all, I think we've kind of flushed out that a lot of people seemingly just want attention by posting stuff in Diplo and having people comment on it. And it would be easier to be resolved between the players, saying, hey, sorry I hit your miner, or sorry I didn't see you there, or target locked, or something failed. What do you want in return? Somebody says, okay, give me that amount of frequency mods, or that amount of nanoprobes, and we'll square it away. But I want to get into, Gooch, what you said earlier, is that the original Rules of Engagement agreement was like a single snapshot. And I'm going to open this up to JaneTheWay, Bundy, and Sharoc as well. Do you guys want to be able to move to something closer to that, as opposed to having, I think it was 11 or 12 rules that you currently have?
I think everybody would rather have less rules, but you get people who are just generally dicks and push the limits and exploiting loopholes, and then we got to go back and reword things, and it does become a second job at the end of the day. It really kind of sucks.
Now, here's the thing, though, real quick. By making the ROE more complicated, you're playing right into the hands of the dick. They are laughing at you because you're making rules they're not going to follow anyways, because they're dick. So it's just not making more rules or making them more complicated isn't the way to deal with these said dicks. You're going to have to do it in game. That's my opinion.
Well, the question I have is, if everybody understands, let's just take a simple rule, right? And for us, we don't have a rule where you can't hit Franklins, right? Most people just don't do it for a variety of reasons. But there are people that go around and do hit Franklins because the ship is OPL and it's a warship designed for war. Now, my question, Sharoc, to you is, I know on your server swarm space is protected. Don't hit Franklins, don't hit OPL ships in swarm space. But if you take away that and people start complaining about, oh no, my Franklin got hit. So, if I was in leadership, and I'm probably never going to be in leadership for a variety of reasons, but my response would be like, well, watch your ship. Don't leave it out floating in swarm space if you're that worried about your ship getting killed. And then the other side, you'd have to have some sort of agreement with the other line saying, yeah, man, don't leave your warship out there if OPL if you want it not to get killed. And that way, I would feel, I think on our server, a lot of those dissenting voices kind of went away. Would that be something that could be implemented on your server?
I think that this was originally put out when the Franklin was a new ship. I believe a lot of these rules, the rule set itself, came out with the introduction of new content, and it was a matter of people weren't just hitting floating warships; they were actively targeting ships that were actively attacking swarm to get their modulators. And again, that comes down to don't be a dick, but yeah, that doesn't work. Everybody's a dick at some point in their life, and some people are more dicks than others.
But even to that point is what I'm getting at. But believe me, I understand you, because we still on our server have the rule where you can't hit in Borg space, which I find kind of laughable, because I cannot deplete my supply of transwarp cells to get into Borg space on a daily basis. But the fact remains is there are servers that people do actively hunt Franklins, and there are servers where people do actively hunt Vidars in swarm space, or Borg space rather. So, but my question is, and Lexi brought up this point last time when she was on the podcast, was that everybody is very screenshot happy. Take a screenshot of the Armada being damaged a little bit before you can snipe it away or take it from somebody, and if it is damaged, then you have the rights to restart it and all these things. And I do want to, I think, because I've seen your Diplo server and I've seen a ton of screenshots. Like, everybody just loves their screenshots. And I think, like what you guys do, you private message each other and say, here's some of the issues we have, and I'm assuming you guys, since you guys are friends, you just resolve it. I'm just trying to see how that could be utilized as a way to impress upon the server that you can handle things on your own between players. You don't have to really bring it up to leadership or Diplo, and continue with your gameplay and enjoy other aspects of the game other than just having to litigate everything.
So a lot of the times that is the case. In my alliance, we do actually tell the players to Diplo their own issues, and if Diplo and if doing that doesn't help you, basically, then it gets brought up to leadership. But a lot of the times, well, I say a lot of the times, but some of the times, some of the screenshots that are put in Diplo may only be for record keeping purposes, to keep track of players who may have issues or who've had issues with this player in the past, where you can look up that player's name and see, oh, hey, this player's had 10 DKs in the past year. Do I really want them a part of my alliance? And it's good in that aspect, but I can definitely agree with the getting away from screenshots for every little issue.
I mean, I gotta believe it's one of those things where players are probably reluctant to even play the game. They're like, fuck, I gotta screenshot every goddamn move I make. This is frustrating. I mean, that's how I would see it. Like, I would feel that I have to defend every action. It just makes it very tiresome.
Yeah, I'm over all the screenshots too. And in UFS we kind of do the same thing. We have a room on our UFS server that's like things that you want diploed, and then typically one of the officers will look at it and go, "Really, you really want us to waste time and diplo doing this?" And you've attached 4 screenshots of a conversation. Now, there was an issue with a guy in a group that isn't represented here in AOD the other day, where he blamed one of my guys for him getting booted out of my group. But he has a really bad temper, and he says a lot of terrible things in PM that go beyond just, hey, you suck. I mean, they go well into lots of things that, and actually, as an admiral, and I was the admiral of Exodus a long time ago, and when I was the admiral, I booted this guy just because of his mouth and because how awful he was to other teams.
And that would definitely be something you'd want to record.
Right. So I booted him out of my group. He was then booted out of my current group by my current admiral, and now he's in a different group, and now they are starting to see the same issue with the same guy. So, I mean, I think he's going to set a record for being in all of the top 20 alliances and being booted.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he actually attempted to come to ours as well, Jane. And yeah, we looked at Diplo and went, no, nope, not him.
Yeah, he's too much. He's just, and his name is Ratspit. And actually, when he first came into my alliance, his name was something I can't even remember. It was some kind of lady part thing, and I'm like, you're gonna have to change your name because that's ridiculous. And he fought me on it. I'm like, look, you can either be in my group and change your name, or you can not be in my group and call yourself whatever you want. And he ended up changing his name to Ratspit. And ironically, his son is in my current group also. And his son isn't an asshole. So it's very strange. And I talked to this guy. I'm like, hey, can you talk to your dad and tell him to just, life is not supposed to be this hard. This is just a game. If this is raising your blood pressure and you're having to see a doctor because of it, you should stop playing.
He tried to join us after you actually booted him, Jane, and seeing that, because the first thing he said, oh, they booted me, blah blah blah. And I don't know if everyone does this, but before most people join us, we vet them. We ask, who you've been with, why did they get rid of you, why did you leave? And I asked him, like, well, why did Jane boot you? And I don't know, he gave me some crazy, and this goes back to the whole first podcast where they say we don't talk to each other, we hate each other, don't respect each other. If JaneTheWay booted you and you're giving me this whole story of how he's an asshole, I wasn't letting him in. I believe Jane booted that person for a reason. He tried for 3 days. It went to the point where I just stopped responding to his PMs. And I think more people should probably vet some people. I mean, granted, he had nothing in Diplo at the time, but it was just a big red flag to me. You got booted, and then give me this whole story of how, like, Jane's like a dictator and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I forget what it was said. It was just, like, ignorant things about how he was wrongfully booted. And just for me knowing Jane, you're not going to just boot somebody just because you feel like it. So that person never made it into my group. And now after seeing what was put in Diplo, definitely not coming to my group.
Crisis averted.
I'm pretty sure you tried with us too.
Here's a very important question. Did he call anyone a special piece of shit for raiding with Dark?
No. But actually, what got him started on this current issue is the guy that he blamed for getting him kicked out raided him. And then he got all pissed off again, and then everything, it was the end of the world again. So he started hitting him. And this guy, the guy in question, I think he's level 34 or 35. And I think maybe his strongest ship is a 1 million power Saladin, maybe. So the guy that he was going after was level 39, and this guy I think he has a couple of maxed epics. So it's like he kept going at him, and the guy was like, well, he can hit me. I'll just sit here and he can waste 10 Saladins on me and I'll just come back. And there's a couple of people in my group that actually can't stand the guy, a different guy. And I told them all, I'm like, he's like, I can't stand him. I'm like, okay, guys, if you hate each other, what I want you to do, if there's no alliance event, I want you to drop out of the alliance. I want you to go to a system, kill each other for 2 days, just pound the hell out of each other, get it over with, and then be done. And then you can come back. Or I'm going to boot you both. Because it seems like we have a lot of infighting with our guys. And we just recently had a very large issue with DT. And as I'm sure everybody is aware. So there's been a lot of infighting within my group in the last 3 or 4 days. And yesterday I pretty much had enough because they were just screenshots and Discord and DT sucks and just on and on and on and on and on, just a million things. And finally I said, guys, I'm fixing to delete this channel off of the server. You guys have got to stop because you guys need to go put the game down and go get a beer or, go do something because this is too much and you're stressing me out.
I'm curious, is it just one person doing this, or
No. It's me, and it's our Diplo as far as like in open Diplo server, and then our current Diplo on our server is Vil, Joker, and me. And I use Joker loosely because Joker's not real good at Diplo.
No, I'm curious. The troublemakers, the ones that are arguing themselves. Is there one ringleader or one person that's really going against the grain?
Yes, there's one person that just will not stop, and I sent him a couple of PMs, and I told
Just
him
get rid of him, man. It ain't worth the grief.
I'm like, this is what it's going to be. Well, and actually this same guy I booted out of Exodus when I was the Admiral of it. So it's like I keep seeing these same people, and they bounce from all these different groups, and I can't stand this guy in my group. And in order for, we have 7 officers
Boot.
total, including our admiral. We have
Give
to
him
have
the
a 5
business end of
majority
the
vote.
boot.
So whenever we take somebody or lose somebody, we have to have 5 votes for yes or no. And so far,
Jesus, man.
it
Holy shit.
it's not even a majority. It has to be 5 of 7. So we all have to pretty much be in agreement. And I said, let's boot, and I got outvoted. I'm like, okay, guys, he sucks. I may walk
Really?
out and just kill him. Yeah, because he just likes to stir the pot. And he's like, I feel like we're getting the soft, what did he call it? The soft reach around. I can't remember what he said. Just something stupid.
You're the admiral, right?
I'm a Commodore.
Oh,
I'm basically I would be I guess the 3rd in command. Bill would be 2nd, Joker's 1st.
now did Joker vote to kick?
No, Joker likes the guy.
Maybe he just likes dumpster fires. I don't know.
Well, for those of you on Sharoc and JaneTheWay and Bundy know that Joker has a tendency to be a little dramatic, and he definitely has a special way of handling things. But at the same time, it's if everybody knows it is what it is, and that's how he is. So I'm pretty used to it. I came from, before I was in UFS, I was in DT. So I got used to the DT's play style, and it's very different from UFS. And DT is
And what's the difference?
it's, well, the difference is DT seemed more kind of, they were more about just power and overall being the best, whereas UFS doesn't care. And it was a very different, feeling. We've got guys that we've had for, I think there's like 18 or 19 guys in UFS that have been in UFS since day one when the server started. They've never left the group. And we don't kick people. We don't do anything. We even if active or inactive, I mean, I think in order to be, booted for being inactive, you've got to be off for 30 days, which I hate. I'm like, if you guys aren't on for
That's
like 10 days,
excessive.
that's too much. And we had one guy that hadn't been on in like 35 days. I'm like, I am fixing to lose it. You guys, we've got to get rid of him because we're actually full and we need this spot. So, it's one of those things where, it is what it is and you just get used to it. But I feel like we're a little bit more casual in UFS than we were in DT. DT was pretty much, we mean business. And, Bundy will probably agree with me that they're pretty competitive. UFS isn't nearly as competitive, although Joker does love to mine that, the Latinum. And him and Bundy are always fighting for first place, which I can't stand mining it, so I don't even care. I hate mining in general. I just mine for dailies. The second I hit it, I'm out.
Yeah, he knocked me out. He knocked me out the other week with a couple 1,000 points.
Do what?
Out of first.
Oh, Joker did.
How much Latinum did you have to mine?
Me?
Bundy, I'm assuming this is Lat Monday?
I did a mix between Latinum and G4.
And Joker has 4 Devours, and he was in deep space mining all 4 of them for like hours.
I think I came in at 132 million points, and Joker came in like at 132,500,000 or something.
Yeah, just barely beat him.
Oh my god!
Now I'm
like
curious.
In the last seconds.
You do it.
That's way too many.
Just to see, who can mine the most, or because it certainly isn't the rewards you're doing it for.
No.
It's a bit of that. It's also about the Devore parts.
It's bragging rights.
I guess it's a way to make some of the more mundane tasks fun. Twisted, you got a question?
Yeah, I mean, so going back to you're like not able to boot unless people vote and stuff like that. I am blown away by that. Like if any one of our comms or even the Admiral of NONA has an issue with a player, we basically try to have a conversation with them saying, hey, dude, you're being a dick. If they don't show remorse, they're gone. Like, that's it. Like, if they don't show any remorse, like, hey, yeah, no, I realize I was being a dick. And, yeah, this behavior is not acceptable. I'm sorry. And I'm going to change that. If they don't say something along those lines, they're gone. I mean, it's just we just simply post the conversation in our officer chat and say, hey, this is what transpired. I don't think that there's a single officer or, I mean, even Inco would disagree that with any of our decisions to boot somebody like that, because we're pretty strict about that. Like our definitive factor is that we don't generate salt. Like that is in our name, known as no salt.
Actually, that's a very misleading name, Twisted, because it's no sodium, not no salt. But whatever.
Well, yeah, okay, fine. But no, I mean, for real though, like we just don't accept that. If you're
It's
being a dick,
very
own it.
few. It's very few and far between though that we ever have issues with a player that warrant an immediate booting. It's very, very rare.
If there's an extreme situation, then it would be an instant boot. But it would be more or less, this guy's causing problems. How do we feel? Or like we just recently took a little guy that came from I can't remember what they're called, TNO, I think, or TNZ, I forget, whatever the group is. He sent us a little PM and he showed us the PM with him and his admiral. And his admiral basically said, "You're not big enough to be in our new group. Sorry, you're out." And we were like, okay, what the hell? And we took the guy and he's super active and super, all over it. So I'm like, wow, I feel like they really lost a good guy. But for the most part, and we voted on that guy and everybody was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But as far as like somebody that's losing their mind and going psycho or whatever, I mean, if one of my guys is acting up that much, I will boot them and kill them myself. And not that I claim to be the top dog, but as far as in my group, I'm second in power, and I can take out anybody in my group except for Vil and Joker. Those are the two that I would have issues with. But I had booted one guy from my group, and then I went and just pounded him to death.
And in reality, we kind of do things the same. If somebody's a nuisance and needs to be handled, and somebody thinks that they should be booted, it will be brought to the officers and we'll have a conversation about it. We don't actually like vote, but if the general consensus is, well, let's talk to him and give him a chance, then that's what we do. If the consensus is, yeah, you should probably go, then that's what we do. So same thing. We may not call it voting, but we have a conversation.
JaneTheWay, what number is your alliance in terms of the power boards?
I think we're fourth. It's FUTR and DT, they fight for first. And then Sin is typically, I think Sin and UFS flip third and fourth depending on who's going in and out of the roster. So I think right now we're fourth.
What's the total power of these alliances? Like what's your top 3 or 4?
Let's see. Our top power, right now top power is FUTR at 3,028,000,000. DT's at 2,451,000,000. Sin's at 1,531,000,000, and UFS is at 1,034,000,000. Or I'm sorry, 1,034,000,000. So it's a big gap between FUTR and DT, but it looks like DT is missing 4 people.
Yeah, you've got a lot of powerful players there. Then.
Oh yeah. We there's a lot of power on our server as far as players go. We've got, of the 4 of us from Server 12 on this call, I'm the little guy at 44. Gooch, Sharoc, and Bundy are all higher than that. I think they're all 46s. Gooch, are you 45 or did you go 46?
46.
Okay, so all of them are 46s, and I'm the lowly 44.
You've got a lot of power on your server.
That's. Are you sure it's 3 billion in power for the alliance? That seems like a lot. It seems like everybody's a level 50.
That's FUTR. They're the big one right now.
Yeah, I mean, NONA, we're number 1. We're at almost 2 billion, just a hair under.
Oh.
Are you sure you're looking at the right power boards there?
Yep.
JaneTheWay?
Yep.
No, he's looking at power destroyed.
Oh.
No, the power itself, DT and FUTR are both 1.2 billion.
Okay. I was gonna say that's huge. Like, wow.
Got the whale server.
Jesus.
No, but so my point being is, your number, you flip 3 and 4. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no shortage of people that want to be in any one of your alliances. So it just speaks to the different culture clashes that we have on our server versus your server. And I'm speaking only to UFS. I don't know how DT or Future or Sin do it, but usually, sometimes at dark we'll have one of our internal comms just go on a boot spree because people are inactive or they haven't contributed properly or something, or in NONA, right? If they boot somebody out of NONA, there's no shortage of people that are willing to take their place. So, I think maybe it has to do with the fact that how your rules are structured on the server versus adding on more additional rules as per alliance. Why you can't, do something that's better for your alliance as opposed to, sticking within these artificial constraints, if you will. Does that make sense?
I'd like to, yeah.
Wow, I just realized that we are currently in an active takeover. Ah,
Go get them.
what? I had no idea.
Is it a fighting takeover or is it one
Yes,
of
yeah,
those takeovers?
it's an empty system that's being fought for. I have no idea who the players are. Looks like 9. Okay, so it's one team from each coalition.
Oh, okay. How's that structured for you guys? Do you experience tons of lag, or do you try to do the whole one team versus one team thing?
Lot of lag. Lot of lag.
Lag.
Tons of
It's
lag.
very frustrating, the lag.
It is super frustrating.
It essentially makes it unplayable.
To a point, yeah. Like right now, it's not too bad because the groups these are two little tiny groups that are going for this, and it looks like my coalition's pretty much got the system overrun. Although Sin is trying. I don't see Future here.
Ooh, calling you out, Sharoc.
Well, maybe they didn't know.
I'm doing other things.
Right. I was gonna say I'm doing this, and I'm actually sitting in my car in the parking lot at the UPS store. It is a monsoon hitting Dallas right now, so I can't really get out of the car, so I'm just waiting. I thought, oh, what the hell? I'll log into the game. Mistake. I should have just stayed out.
Well, hopefully you stay safe with the monsoon going on.
I don't know what is happening. This has been the rainiest. I mean, we have rain every day from today all the way through next Sunday. It's supposed to be. It's like 80% chance of thunderstorms and tornadoes and rain and drama. I'm like, what is going on this year in Dallas? We never have this much rain. I'm in Texas. It's supposed to be warm.
Yeah, ship some of that water to California, will you?
Yeah, I think you got all of our rain.
Yesterday it was supposed to rain and it didn't. It ended up being like 70 degrees. So I was like, this is a good day to get the convertible out. So I got the convertible out and then monsoon. So I get under an underpass real quick. I'm like, damn it. It was super fun.
So I'll open up Bundy. He's been pretty silent. Where do you feel, or rather, let me ask you this: where do you want your server to go? Because I feel, talking to a bunch of people on your server,
Sorry, I lost you there.
that they feel either they're really loving all these things they have to do in their gameplay in addition to their dailies, like all these screenshots they have to take and not hit anybody anywhere. Where do you want the server to go in terms of row and just interpersonal relationships? And eventually, right, we're all going to merge, right? People are going to leave the game, and you'd have a culture clash, and I'm assuming all of you guys will unite.
Well, I'd like to see it simplified, and I really, was very pleased to hear from the others that are in the group too that they'd like to see a simplification as well. I'd like to see a little bit more PvP in it, or the opportunities for a bit more PvP. I think we're slowly getting there.
People are loosening up the tie a little bit.
I think so, and I mean, there's PvP and you can PvP and not be a dick about it too, right? And I think we can get there.
Well, the other day I was in GC and it was after it was a big territory fight, and UFS lost real hard. And either whether you win or lose, it's still fun because you're still, you get to blow off some steam and just kill people, and that makes everybody generally happy. And I posted something in GC that said, "Hey guys, we would need to come up with just a system that you can't port to, but you go there just specifically to kill each other if you want." And there was like 3 or 4 future guys and a couple of DT guys that were like, "Yes, let's do it." And then I had like 3 or 4 PMs on Discord saying, "Don't even bother. It's been brought to Diplo. They won't do it." And I let it go, and I should have pursued it because I feel like it's something that would catch on. I mean, obviously, if you can port there, it's an issue, but if you can't port, there's plenty of systems out there that you can't port to that there's nothing there. So just go there and shoot each other up and be done. Work out your issues.
One that's been brought up is because, I mean, you see in the PvP events that Scopely runs, where Daze will just go up in there with Newton, and you enter the system, he's just going to blow you away. Like,
he wins against everybody.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Joker actually brought it up 6 or 8 months ago, and he wanted to do 3 or 4 different systems that were by level.
Oh,
that were level based. I don't know whatever happened with that conversation. I'm pretty sure a couple people came in with their, comments like, making fun of it. But I think even DT was on board with that too. So I think I even saw it posted on his Discord.
You bet, Gooch, yeah. You bet.
We actually had one on our system. We used a level 1 system, but we put in place like a gentleman's rules where come in PvP, use whatever ship you want. You can attack 2 levels below you and unlimited levels above you, and have at it. And so I'm a level 33, and so I was fighting with another level 33 guy and a level 34 guy, and it was just a blast, And then the level 49s and 50s were fighting against one another. And then, everybody just kind of kept to their corner. It was a system you could port to. It was a level 1 system. It was just a fun PvP event that everybody kind of agreed to play by certain rules. And I think that worked out really well. I think we called it like a no drama PvP system. It worked out well for us. Andy, were you there for it?
I did not, no.
Okay. Dogs, you were there. Here, let me get Dogs in here. Dogs?
Click accept.
I clicked accept. Yeah, I was in there. And when there wasn't enough...
You were fighting with Nash, right?
Yeah, and when there wasn't enough 49s, I literally just took out Flea, my D4, and and a lot of the higher 30s and lower 40s were trying, So that made it fun, right? Just not to take out, Clean Blade, but to actually take out Flea instead, and it made it a lot more fun for everybody, I think.
All right, so that was fun. Boogie, were you there?
When? I didn't catch that, sorry.
No, that's cool. All right, but you had a question, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up something about TC. All right. TC, yeah, at the beginning it was all fun. We played right into Scam Play's pockets. Everybody every day, every other hour showing up to defend. Created alliances between each other, coalitions. We did all of that. And then it's pretty much mellowed out over the months and became the normal, okay, let's try to find a way to do this without killing each other 24/7 and having to pay attention to this all day long because it takes up your whole day doing it. So everybody's pretty much got to that point in TC where they're shuffling things around. The dominance was established in the beginning. The teams were established that we're going to be holding down the majority of the territories. But one of the things I'm noticing now, as this is going out further and further, we've got some of those sister alliances in there. They've got some little smaller teams in there that are holding on to 1-2 little zones. Beginning, there was a lot of these teams that weren't even trying to capture TC with their teams because they didn't understand it, for one, and for two, their teams weren't ready. But as time's progressed, and I'm watching some of these teams, just like BTG, prime example. All right, they're sitting here saying, and those guys had an opportunity to have a zone when it first started. They was offered one, but their team wasn't ready, so they backed down. They said they'd wait till they was ready. But now here they are at the point where they're ready to try to get a TC zone. All right. And what happens every time they do? They try to go get a one-on-one fight with a similar alliance their size. That's all they're asking for. And every time they attempt to, they get jumped by the coalition. You know, how is it fair to all those teams? You know, I mean, I just think that you guys should think about that with your TC structure. At this point, if those smaller alliances aren't ready to defend their territories over another small alliance their size, they don't deserve to be there.
I can't help but agree with you. If you can't hold on to your system, then you don't really deserve it.
And that's all I wanted to say about TC. I think that, you know, you guys should really give some of these guys that have sat back and waited all this time respectfully a shot at it. You know, at least let them try to earn their meal. You know,
that's why these teams joined, though, Boogie. That's why we all formed these coalitions, was so that we didn't have to go through some of that.
I get that, and I know personally with BTG, they was involved in the Federation, but when they asked for help to try to get it, they didn't get none. So I know that for a fact. They spoke it out several times that they wanted a spot. And I don't know if there's other ones, but I know their personal situation, and I've been watching them for the past month hit roadblock after roadblock, just trying to get a 1-star ISO. They're not asking for the map, the whole pie. They just want some crumbs now. They're ready to eat.
Yeah, they need to work with one of the coalitions and be patient.
Yeah, guys, Bundy's got to leave. So Bundy, I'll give you your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just, of course, happy to hear that there's more that we agree on than we disagree on, and see you in game, guys.
Later, Take care, Bundy.
Cool, thanks, Bundy. All right, Boogie and B, thanks for jumping in from Rogue. I'm going to put you back down in the audience, and I'll open it up to Sharoc, JaneTheWay, and Gooch. Where do you feel? Where do you want your server to go? You know, do you guys want to take all these screenshots and whatnot? And do you want open up more zones for PvP?
Well, I agree with less rules. The more rules make the more rules that you make, the worse it gets, because then there's all these technicalities, and like, for example, when territory came out, there was a lot more rules that had to be made, and now and like, just like Gooch said, and Sharoc, it's just a mess. And you know, I don't think anybody other than 4 or 5 people on the Diplo server know all the rules. And there's a couple of people like Lightest and Gooch and Sharoc that are generally referenced, like, hey, what's the rule with this? And you know, and as far as I go, I don't know all the rules. And my play style is just don't be an asshole, and I typically do okay. So most of my guys, whenever they screw something up, like, I still have one guy that doesn't believe in that Franklin rule, and every once in a while he will still hit a Franklin, and I'm like, okay, you do it again, I'm done, because that's just a rule. But I feel like now everybody has the Franklin, and it's been out for so long that, you know, that's probably a rule that we could get rid of. But I think getting rid of the rules is going to be even worse than making the rules, because everybody's used to this way, and you know, at the end of the day, change is bad.
Just in the short term. You'll find that when you change a rule, you'll have a few people that will react and go, wow, you shouldn't have changed to that. I'm going to show you why. And they're just being assholes. And they'll lose steam in a few days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I personally agree with getting rid of, you know, less is more.
Definitely. I would definitely encourage anybody with a lengthy ROE that reads like a book to try and simplify it as much as they possibly can, and just realize that you cannot cover every eventuality. And if you don't keep it simple, you lose a lot of people. A lot of people are not going to respect the rules because either they understand them or they think it's too complicated to give it enough time to even try and figure out what you're trying to say. You know, all different sorts of reasons, but at the end of the day, complicated is not good in a game. It's supposed to be fun. It should be light and fun, and everybody having a good time, and making complicated rules is counterproductive with that in mind.
And I just want to say that if everything's more simple, don't make lives harder for your leadership teams because Discord and diplomacy becomes like a second job, and it takes away time from their gameplay to deal with your crap, as opposed to just everybody doing their stuff and moving on.
Right.
I think you guys can all agree, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think most players understand that, well, it's not to say that, oh my God, we deal with something, it's so bad for us, but I don't think most people get it when they get petty about something, regardless of what team they come from, that what it turns into, to the point where literally there's been times, I'm sure it's happened with Jane, Sharoc, Bundy, whoever, there's times where it gets so out of hand in the Diplo server that both people that are dealing with it just take it to PM and like, dude, that's a shit show. Let's deal with it here. My guy's being petty or your guy's being petty. What do we want to do about it? And then, I mean, there's been times that I think even on both teams where I know it's happened with me and DT and Borg in the past where we're both like, hey, my guy's being petty, your guy's being petty as well. Fuck them both. It's over. Okay. Have a good day.
Yep, I'd say that's. I think a lot of people do that.
I think the bigger problem there is that whenever stuff gets posted in Diplo, if, for instance, the issue is between Future and UFS, if Future and UFS could work it out, that'd be great. But then you have AOD or Axe or DMJM jump into the conversation, and then all those different varying things gets other people to jump into the conversation, and then it becomes the AKA dumpster fire, and it's never ending. And my guys had no idea how much time I was spending on Discord, and I finally sent them screenshots of like when I started the issue, when the issue ended, the screenshot of the phone call I was on with the person to try to talk it out because we couldn't work it out via texting, I guess. And I'm like, guys, this literally took 6 hours of my day off and on to get this resolved. This is ridiculous. So if you don't have to do it, don't do it. And the few guys of mine that have Diplo access, I'm like, if you don't have to say something, don't. Because if it's not adding, it's taking away. So just less is more. Please stop talking. Let's just resolve the issues and move on. And I know that Gooch and Bundy and Sharoc probably all agree. And I don't really see Sharoc very much in Discord anymore. And I think that's probably by design.
Yeah, I know better. Unless I'm specifically pinged in there, I do not show up.
Yeah, typically it's Fire coming in for Future, and Fire tends to have, well, or Lightest, I guess, but Lightest tends to be the voice of reason.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you for joining me. I know it's rough to get all the major alliances in one place, but I think there is consensus between the two coalition leaders, if you will, that there's everybody talks to one another. There's not as much animosity as people want to believe, and I think everybody's for less rules and less asshattery and less dumpster fire conversations, and most things can be resolved by individual players. I mean, most of the things in game could be resolved by individual players.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the whole line in the sand thing that I think Jane brought up last time. I mean, I think that was not really an opinion or like a feeling thing of how that formed, but the one coalition is mainly formed up of Borg, which I don't know if Jane remembers, I think was 5 alliances deep at one point.
Yeah, Borg was 5 total. The collective was 5 different alliances, 5 different cubes is what they called it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that coalition's mainly that. Now, most of them go all by different names, except for the main Borg cube is still Borg. And then DT was mainly Borg players, Zero players, a couple different guys that all made that group. So I think a lot of the guys that ended up leaving, went back to their respective homes or coalition. And then DT by design is, because Days was originally a Borg player, and a lot of their leadership was Borg. How UFS became part of that coalition, I don't know. You'd have to ask Joker, most likely. That was more probably a him decision. But I mean, I think the whole line in the sand thing was there was no choice for it to be that way because 5 of those groups were always together for the last year and a half. So you're going to ride with your boys. And then on our side, I mean, that got done by design, I think, just from the previous wars where certain groups, like when we were SPQR and FUTR were in the war, and then AOD got dragged into it and other people. So, I mean, the line was basically decided just by the actions of the server as it formed. But I don't think it's more of like an idea thing. I think when people disagree on ideas, they're more just backing up their boy or girl or whoever they may be. And they're just, they may agree with you because I've seen it happen where someone will PM somebody and be like, dude, I agree with you, but publicly I can't. So I think that's more of a thing of just backing up your coalition or your friend or just your old alliance mate that keeps it like that. But I think for the most part, both major players on both sides agree and wanted to go a certain way, but the memberships, that follow the rank and file, they just fuck that group. I mean, there's plenty of times I have guys on my side, oh, fuck that group in general, excuse my language. But I'm like, dude, you think they don't think the same thing about you? If you keep having that mindset, it's going to be like that forever, when realistically, the guy that you're saying F that guy might be a cool dude.
Right.
I
I'd
I
encourage
agree.
everybody to give each other a chance. And, remember, we're all people. We're all playing the same game. We're all neighbors. We're all stuck on the same server together, on your respective servers. And, just keep that in mind when you're dealing with each other.
Yeah, Scopely's the true enemy that everyone doesn't realize.
I don't think Scopely is a true enemy here. I think we willingly give our money to Scopely, and their goal is a business, right?
Well, and we are our own worst enemy.
Yeah, exactly. We pay for their bad content, and it's bad content that they've been releasing. So we can unite against Scopely by not giving them any more money and demanding better stuff. All right, guys, and Gooch, I want to thank you for that note, because I want to bring up Chef and Dogs of War to talk to one another on the air live. It's going to be awesome. All right. Now, the reason, Dogs, why I brought you on the show is because you posted a comment on the previous podcast, and I thought it was a very well listed out argument in terms of why you're still hitting Chef and why you still have potentially some animosity against him. So I want to open up the floor to you to basically talk about what you commented on, and I want to ask you. Chef said last time that he offered peace to MCRN, but my question was, were you the one he messaged, or was it Crasham and then Crasham talked to you about having a ceasefire or peace agreement with Chef?
Yeah, the only thing I'm aware of firsthand is Chef and I were actually talking to each other, and I was trying to negotiate kind of a peace agreement, which wasn't based on dry hitting, because we know that Chef will always dry hit. So I didn't even discuss that. I was discussing two things. You don't hit our armadas, because that's what kind of gets me off the rails, right? When he hits rare and epic armadas, which I know people work hard to get the directives, or, God forbid, they actually spend money on it. And then the second thing I offered was, okay, we won't hit you in deep space. If we find you in deep space, we won't hit you. And the idea behind that is, it's like, well, wait a minute. I thought, with regards to server row, no one's supposed to hit anybody in deep space. But our position was, well, Chef's not row, so he doesn't get any benefits of row because he's not row. So that's why the deep space hit, or the not hitting in deep space, was even on the table. So that's what we officially discussed. Of course, we did not come to agreement. So I'm not trying to represent that Chef agreed and then broke his word? No, he never agreed to it to begin with. But I will say that I kind of felt a little bit, I guess, taken aback by it, because as soon as I let him know that that was my main concern, the Amada hits, that's when he increased the Amada hits. So that really rubbed me the wrong way. So I know, and I do agree with everyone's thoughts, is like, look, Chef can play the game the way he wants, right? He can do whatever he wants. And my answer to that is, okay, well, I can play the game how I want too. So if he's going to hit my Amadas, then guess what? I'm going to play the game the way I want, and that means I'm going to hunt Chef. Wherever he goes, I don't care where he goes, I'm going to hunt him down. I'm going to destroy him. And one of my favorite things to do is I call the Chef special. So we'll locate his base. I'll just sit there quietly, not do anything, wait for a nice returning Kelvin, warp in my base at the last second, send out Clean Blade, which is my corner, and destroy him. And I've done that. I mean, Chef can probably tell you, I stopped counting around 25 or 30 times. So over the last couple months. So
You have a name for your coroner?
oh yeah, Clean Blade. I name all my ships. I have fun with
Really?
the game. I have fun with the game. I mean, for me, it's which is why a lot of times I don't get really involved with all the political stuff, because this is a release for me, right? So I play the angry Cleon, in AC chat. So it's definitely a persona, right, with regards to that. But that does not carry over to any PMs to other players, like in other alliances. If I respond at all, a lot of times I don't even respond if I get a salty, PM for some reason. But I'm always friendly on the PMs. I totally agree with Handy in that respect, is I do not make anything personal ever. And to be clear on that, when Chef and I were talking, we were identifying a lot with like movie quotes and older, shows that we were aware of, because I think we're about the same age. But when it kind of fell apart there and he started hitting Armadas, then we weren't PMing back and forth like anything nasty or anything. We just stopped talking. Like we didn't PM anything. So anyway, so that's my position with regards to that's all I want. I know that Chef will always dry hit. And with regards to the dry hitting, I always kind of found that as a fun part of the game, kind of like the cat and mouse, and the Discovery Summon really changed the dynamics of that, because I could show up to a system a lot faster if he was, if a player reported that he's dry hitting in this system, but then he can also escape faster, right? So it added another cool dynamic. And with regards to that, I always just felt like it was a challenge, just try to see if I can sneak up on him and get him, right? So to me, that didn't really bother me much. It was just the Amada thing where it just went south.
Okay, so real important question. What are the other names of your ships? Dogs is having technical difficulties.
Oh, sorry about that. All right, so my D4 is called Flea. My Coroner is Clean Blade. My Enterprise is Cleaner Prize, because it's a Cleon ship. So I took my Enterprise, I put Cleon stickers on it. There's leather uniforms is standard issue, and there's knives on every deck, right? So that's Cleaner Prize. My Jelly, because I did get the Constellation skin, my Jelly is called Mad Max. And my Katinga is called my Katinga is called Escalade, because it's slow, lumbering piece of crap.
Yeah, I call it the Chichinga because it's expensive and it's just not
I used to
very
call
good.
it that too, because every time I'd hit the repair button, Scopely's registers would go cha-ching, right? So I did call it Chichinga first too. I will say though that the combination of all the new research trees, so like Territory and this brand new one for the shuttle away teams, and the Outlaw, as well as just them restructuring like how much the repairs are, the G4 ships have become a lot more, for me, a lot more fun. Because when I was first level 42 and I was really watching my trit, which is a thing that I want to talk with Chef about actually, I actually had Cleon accounting actually involved with every one of my PvP wars, which was very frustrating. So
And you really dive into that Klingon persona. We've never talked before, so this is like my first interaction that I've had with you, and I find that hilarious.
Oh yeah, and I also get picked on in AC, right? They make fun of my ridges on my head and stuff like that. It's very racist.
Yeah, MCRN, stop picking on Dogs of War just because he's a level 49.
Yeah, no, but look, the whole point for me on this game is to have fun. That's the whole point. So, I mean, why not, right? Because we all deal with real life, so why not have this as a place to just have fun? I mean, I don't get wrapped around the axle on almost anything except for when Chef hits our armadas, then I get a little cranky.
Chef, what do you got to say to that?
I'm pissed off at you, that's for one. For several
You're pissed
reasons.
off at me?
Yeah.
Why?
One, this is an intervention, we promised. Two, we were going to go together on merchandising, and now you're selling voodoo dolls to dogs. Who else has them? We told them we'd give them 10% off on the Fuck You Chef jackets. But, you got to let me in on this merchandising.
Wait a minute. You're giving discounts to dogs? This isn't what we talked about.
Well, you gave him a voodoo doll.
No, I didn't.
He keeps hitting my shifts.
Well, I can't help with that. I can't help with that. I'm a 34. What am I supposed to do against dogs?
Don't worry, when it's all over, MRFM will agree to hit dark with me.
Oh, God.
Well, I do want to discuss the change in strategy, though, which is kind of what you guys talked about on the last podcast, right? Because my strategy was, for the longest time, don't hit his base. Just find his most expensive ships that would cost him the most to repair and destroy them. And the easiest way to do that was just to find his base and then just warp in your base at the last minute and take him out, right? So I call that the chef special, right? So, but we did have a shift in strategy a couple weeks ago, which you guys noted on the podcast, which is, okay, well, let's get our 3 strongest players. So that's Crash, Stink, and myself. And let's just hit his base repeatedly, right? And I did initially have the thought that what Handy exactly said, which is Chef lives for that stuff. That's what he wants. He wants us to hit his base, right? So he can just sit there and laugh. The problem, though, that maybe I'd even consider, and maybe Handy didn't, is, first of all, and I'll let Chef do the math on his own, but for the level 49 and 50 players, Trit is just much cheaper to begin with versus what Trit costs when you're level 43 or 44, right? Second is we've got 3 players hitting him, so every time we hit his base and take out a Kelvin, I have, and that was with every hit. So we're all sharing at 1 repair bill. He's got 3. So, and he was keeping his Kelvins in dock. So every time we would hit his base, we'd take out a Kelvin or come close to taking out a Kelvin. So it was definitely he was definitely spending money as well as obviously we were. And then the last thing is that, I do watch my Trit, so I'm not going to say I don't. Cleon accounting is definitely involved with my war efforts, but Crash and Stink, they're like Inch. They don't care. I mean, they've got like 90 billion in Trit, and they'll just hit him over and over. They don't even care. It's kind of like, remember when Inch was hitting Urbanator, and Inch was sending every damn, G4 ship he had, just hitting Urbanator over and over and over. Do you think Inch was even looking at the Trit? No, he was just, pounding Urbanator with regards to that. And that's how they are. So when Chef says like, oh, I'll do this all day because, they're paying 4 times the amount of Trit than I am, I think Chef's math is wrong. And the other thing, last thing he's not considering is the repair costs are cheaper as you go higher up when you consider the research, right? Now, obviously the repair cost always increases the stronger your ship is, but to to help mitigate that, you do have research in the research trees and stuff, and as you get higher in the levels, it does drop. So I don't think the math is working out the way Chef thinks it's working out.
Well, let's, and I agree with you 110%, except there's other sides of the strategy you haven't looked at. In other words, why would he, first off, you guys post, and I'm not dick swinging, I'm just stating facts. I'm glad you're here. I wish we had talked a long time ago, because there is definitely a communication breakdown. And I don't think you're getting the full picture, and maybe I'm not getting the full picture, but there's definitely bits that need to be filled. We definitely need to defrag this hard drive. In regards, one of you guys one time wrote, "Oh yeah, Chef, he's just letting us hit it because he had a relocation tokens." I got 200 relocation tokens, and I know how easy you hit me once, I move, reshield, and just keep playing that game. I'm letting you hit me, kill me for trit just to make a point. Is because either way, we can play the shield move. I can do that all day, and it's how long are you guys going to get bored, and how long is your team going to keep going? Well, you're hitting his base, he's still hitting us. Where does this end? And that's why we're talking, because it's not going to end. Chef's just going to change his tactics. You're going to change their tactics, and your people are still going to bleed. Because the only safe way, if you're more worried about your team than you are about hitting me, which should be the whole thing, because I've always been willing to talk until nobody wants to talk, and I've tried.
Well, Chef, I've already tried talking to you. It went nowhere.
Okay, well, let's go all the way.
And
If we want to bring it up, I'm all for getting rid of bad blood, but it all started back in the days of Malenka lying to Handy and then lying to me, and you guys did nothing about it, and I let it go.
Oh, I know there's context to this that goes back, what?
Yeah, maybe we can have a sidebar and work that out, because it's all about trust, and it's all about why. And you guys have told me from day one, we have people on our team that will never stop hitting you, and TC just amplified it.
Yeah, that's correct, because we have to give you, Chef, we have to give you a reason to come to the table. Right now, you have no reason to come to the table. What's the reason? We have to hurt you enough to where you say, okay, this is BS. You need to do something. But until then, why would you even negotiate with us?
I'm asking, that's to me, it's just virtual dick swinging. What we're both agreeing to is this is a waste. If we want to get along, great. If we don't get along, great. Let's talk.
Hang on. Just asking Chef is reason enough for Chef to want to negotiate. I mean, all you have to do is ask, and that's how most people.
So, Handy, I tried that, and I actually told him what was important to me, which is don't hit armadas. And what did he do? He went out and hit more of our armadas. So, Chef wants to talk about trust. What kind of trust is that?
Why did you do that, Chef?
Why did I hit the armadas? Because I went all the way back and said, you guys want peace a year ago. And they said, no, we have people that are going to keep hitting you. And I said, well, I have reason to keep hitting you too, but I'm willing to let it go. Are you? And they said, no, we're fine playing cat and mouse. We're not going to do anything about our people.
And that's Crasham. And Crasham is not caring about his people, right?
Like I said, Dogs and I have always chatted, and it's been great. I wish it was more chatting, but it's been, it's just been brief. I mean, I've always liked Dog. But I've never really called him a friend because I've tried, and it's just very brief conversations. It's fun. I enjoy it. I've always wanted to get to know the guy. I've always been that way with Wales. But I told him, I said, look, you guys keep stepping up your game. I'm going to step up my game. And to hit one armada when I can hit 13 in 1 week, and he just says, we're done. I just told him, I said, and I apologize to Dogs. I apologize to the whole server. If that council had told me that, oh no, now we're sharing TC, there would have been no war with Starscream. There would have been no war with Crossy. There would have been no war with MRFM. Everything still would have been casual. But nobody told me, oh no, now we're all agreeing. Because I can't tell how many times I would fly into a TC, see sparks flying, red dots with purple, and I'd start hitting. And then all of a sudden I get a PM from one of my purple saying, no, they're on our side now. Boom, bad blood gone. Instantly that red team was purple just because I trust my friend saying, we're good with this. And if somebody had said, hey, MRFM, MBD, Bold, if anybody, Handy, Tech, anybody had said, we're now agreeing on it, that would open the discussion. But instead, I kept warning people, if it's stepping up, I'm going to step up. You just got done saying, you hit our armadas, we're going to hit you in deep space. My thing was, if you have players that are going to hit me anywhere and you're supporting them, then I'm going to hit your team. I was all for just standing down, let it go, MRFM, leave their own life. But there's got to be trust because you have people that want to ambush me. I'm all for leaving you guys alone. But how are you going to address if people don't leave me alone?
Well, that's news to me, Chef, because to me, the dry hitting was always on the table, and we never even discussed that. It was just about Armada. So
Oh, I
you
know. You
saying,
guys were awesome. You guys were awesome. Even in the casual, I never had to look my back for you, watch my back for you. It was great. And I was all for casual. I kept saying, what do we want to do? You guys are the ones that said, too bad. Too bad. I've been saying, I've been over and over and over again, I have come to you. You don't come to me. I come to you saying, hey, I got coupons. All you could have said is, hey, Chef, don't hit our Armadas anymore. Let's use one of our coupons. Nope. No, Crash, and I've said several times, I'm offline mining. Not once Crash said, thank you. It is a war game, and I'm trying to be civil. I've been giving you for the last year. What one thing have you guys ever done for me?
Chef, 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 I tried to talk to you about a simple agreement. You don't hit our Armadas, we don't hit you in deep space. That failed. I don't understand what you're talking about. Otherwise, are you saying that if we stop hitting you right now, you're going to stop hitting us in total, even dry hits?
Dogs, you've never given me other than the whole ceasefire thing, but hey, blood's boiling. People don't understand how quick I am to put away bad blood. Other than what's transpired, I have no reason not to trust you, dogs. It's just miscommunication as far as I see. And I think you're reasonable, otherwise you wouldn't be here. That's why I stayed quiet the whole time you were talking. Same like he did with me. I respect whales. I respect people say fuck you once in a while. Hey, it's a game. Doesn't mean I'm going to go to war over it. I'd be more apt to talk. My only problem was trust way back then that was never addressed. And I can let that go as long as I have you word things will be addressed. It's no different than Key.
Dogs.
It's no different than Key.
Hold on.
It's no different. Let me finish, please, because this is a great example. It's no different than Grazi and Key. Key was pounding me because they did the exact same thing you guys did. Grazi kept putting it off, no big deal, and finally I stepped up my game. I did the exact same thing with Medic. It's all in the last podcast or podcast before. I did all three of you guys. I think I did the same with Bold and a couple others, all the same way. PM'd you guys the same time. And Grazi, if he can hold Key back, no different than you telling your team, hey, leave Chef alone. And that's exactly what Grazi did with most. Now I got Grazi's back because he's one of my dearest friends. I'm just saying I've got to have trust. In other words, you control your team, I'll control mine, and let's work on a friendship. It's that simple.
So dogs, just to reiterate, when Chef makes a team purple, whichever purple you want, a heart or you want a live long and prosper sign, he doesn't hit that team for any reason whatsoever. There's no dry hitting or anything involved.
There's no base rating, nothing.
So the question becomes then, Chef, how do we get there?
Like I said, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate it. Tech and his interventions suck, but I'm glad he does it.
You know what? Go fuck yourself.
Thank you. Let's sell a shirt. It's simple, dogs. Like I said, man, we've always been casual up until recently, and we even did the virtual. I wish we'd have done it over the phone. It would have been hilarious. We were virtual dick swinging, a couple days before all this happened. It was like neither one of us want this, and I don't want it. I'd rather make us grow stronger and hit like I said, every team's got bad apples. The teams have to address those bad apples. I think if you've listened to the podcast, dogs, you'll understand. You can't listen to tinfoil hats. If you ask anybody on this podcast right now, they'll tell you I go more for peace. I'm just not afraid of war, and I respect whales. That's why I'm saying forever. Even when we were casually hitting each other, you didn't hit me. I appreciated it. That's why it was just love bumps. There was no huge aggression like when the server first started and I was on dirt hitting everything that moved. Not the same person back then, dogs. So I apologize for that.
Well, I do agree on a couple of things. And that is, one, there is a lot of context here, right? That goes back a year and a half or more. Two is, it is a war game. I have that same exact sentiment. So I'm not expecting this to be Farmville or something. I do have a personal question, though. Maybe it's just a badge of honor maybe I'm looking for. And that is, has anybody else been able to break and raid your base twice? I got you for about 3 billion, right?
Well, I've gotten bigger in the last 2 weeks, so I don't know. Nobody can crack me in one shot. I mean, you come close. You did originally, and I started. That was part of the reason why I was letting you guys keep in me. I've been playing with officers the whole time. If you notice, my officers kept changing. I was trying to find the right combo, and then once I find the right combo, I'm going to go to the one-hit move.
I got you offline though. You were obviously offline, so all I used was a G3 cleaner prize and Harrison, right? So it did take me like 30 plus hits, but I don't care because every time even 30 repairs of a cleaner prize is a fraction of one G4 ship. So just
Yeah, but you're also, if you're playing stats and tat for tat, well, you're also
no,
got to
but
look
you
at
just answered my
how many
question though. Has
team members.
anybody
I'm
else
not dick
broken your
swinging.
base?
I
Has
am not
anybody
dick.
broken your base and rated
Guys,
you for 3 billion?
guys,
Anybody?
guys.
I just want an answer.
The answer is if you're talking. Well, I mean, like I said, if you want to talk how much you've taken from me compared to how much I've taken from your team, it's probably a wash. But what I was going to
No,
say is,
I'm not getting into that at all. I'm just literally curious. Has anybody else broken and raided your base on the server? I don't honestly know.
in past many times, Bold has Bold. I think was the last one that did it,
What about recently when
and I
you
did
have your
retaliate,
commons?
and that was over a year ago. You're the first team to crack my base in a year.
Who did it last?
I usually cracked all the time.
Okay, no, I wasn't trying to be obnoxious. I was just literally curious.
No, it was awesome. I asked Handy and Inko a long time ago to hit my base. I want to see how strong it was. No, you've been awesome. I am not degrading how you're playing. It's no disrespect.
Chef,
like I said,
I think he was just asking. I think he just wanted to know, outside of dogs, cracking your base. What was it, like a couple weeks ago? What was the last time, or who was?
Yeah.
Like a month ago. Well, who was the last person, or who was the last team to crack your base?
Probably Bold.
And that was a year ago.
Over a year ago. It's been forever.
Over a year ago.
Oh yeah, it was before it had to have been before the first podcast. I haven't been cracked since the first podcast. Way before that.
Okay, so it is about a year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and dogs. One time you were trying to crack lethal, and then you hit him twice, and then you just shielded. What was up with that?
Oh God, I don't know if I even remember that.
Yeah, I mean it was in like Leon, and he was online at the time. He was just playing possum, but you hit his base twice.
Yeah, I was watching. I saw something that indicated to me he was online, so I just stopped. But I forgot what it was. I don't know if I was watching helps or if it was closely just looking at his base. If he was just going to barely repair it or something, but something led me to believe he was online, so I just stopped.
All right, guys. Well, I don't want to drag on too long, but thank you both for coming. I appreciate it. And I think Chef is open to the possibility of probably having a voice conversation. It'll probably take a while.
If he wants to hang out in the green room, I'd be happy to talk to him. This is awesome.
Right. So, dogs, just be prepared. When Chef gets into a groove, it'll take a while. I know I get sometimes.
I haven't had my THC yet.
Yeah, I get phone calls from like Grazi and Chef one time, and they're supposed to last 10 minutes because that's like my limit, and then they end up lasting like 45 to an hour.
Oh, forget that. Try like 2.5 hours at 2 in the morning.
Well, I usually like worm my way out of them.
Oh, we're still on our first case of beer.
Oh Jesus!
Hey, I got a question for Handy.
Yeah.
Handy, do you think we're going to be able to avoid war? Or do you think, like, I know Inch thinks this, eventually it's just going to happen? Like, we're going to try our best, but eventually it's just going to happen.
No, I think we can avoid war as long as I'm successful at playing the middleman.
Yeah, no, you're definitely the diplomat of the... that's definitely your role. I'm kind of the same opinion as you, just so you know, and that is, if we do somehow, someway end up going to war, there's going to be a lot of losers, and the only winner is going to be Scopely. That's my attitude.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. But if that's what needs to happen to get people to just let go of some of their angst, then, so be it. But I really think it's not necessary. Kind of set things on a more peaceful path. I'm always of a mind that, diplomacy first, and if it doesn't work, then let's go fuck each other up, whatever. But,
All right.
you know,
And
Twisted,
can
you
I,
get the
can I,
last.
can I, can I say one last thing before we get cut off?
no,
And that's
Chef,
what's so
down,
great
Sure.
about
down, boy.
it was rhetorical. That's what's so great about having these interviews with other servers, and because they all boil down to 2 or 3 people causing a lot of waves for their team, and the team not wanting to address it, or making things so copious amounts of rules, and it's like simple. Try talking to them, think of the needs of the many, and if they're not willing to do that, find a way to address it so the team can move on peacefully. That's the way it seems like these themes of all these servers is needs of the many, and everybody get along, and you need something to address it. You need a plan to address teammates that don't give a shit about the team. And people, they're my friends, and I just keep putting up with it. They're my friends, but I keep putting up with it. Well, your friends are costing you money. Your friends are costing you time. Your friends are costing you enjoyment. How good of friends are they if they're that selfish? That's what I keep getting out of it. Nobody wants to address them or do anything about it.
Dogs, real quick. How is your feeling about MCRN and dealing with issues in a timely manner? Because I know that's one of our biggest issues with MCRN is that it just things never get handled. It feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and as I was telling you guys earlier, it's because I like to have fun with the game. I'm not probably involved with the political aspect as much as I should, but I do see a lot of conversations in our, obviously our alliance chat on Discord. So I do know that the discussions are happening, but
Right, but we never
I
get
don't know
resolution.
I don't know where it goes from that. So I'm not doubting the perception, right? That doesn't happen.
Well,
All I can tell you is that when issues do come up, we do definitely talk about on AC. So for instance, I think it was just yesterday, we had a player that basically was hit in a PvP system, and it was like, hey, wait a minute, I thought we were a ceasefire. And then we clarified to him, no, it doesn't apply to PV, especially event PvP. And then the guy kept on going on, though. In PMs, we got screenshots, and now we're talking about, like, what do we do with this guy, right? So I know the conversations happen. I guess it just doesn't reach to you guys. So that's, something we got to work on, I'm sure.
just like, well, here's one of the main things is like, Berg and Crash tend to be very busy and offline for long periods of time. And we need somebody else in MCRN to step up, be a point of contact, or to be involved in the conversation. I mean, typically for most alliances, the number 1 and number 2 guy is plenty. But it just seems in MCRN's case that it's just not. 9 times out of 10, we need somebody else to contact, and I've asked for it several times, and I would encourage maybe you to speak up to your fellow players in MCRN and come up with a third person that can be involved and make decisions, or at the very least keep us updated.
Yeah, because one of the comments you made was correct, and that is, we will discuss issue XYZ, between all the Commodores a lot, but the end result always is, okay, well, let's wait for Crasher and see what he says.
Yeah, and I think that's the wrong decision. You really need
I agree.
you need a solid second in command that can make the decision when Crash is unavailable. And it should be somebody that Crash, you know, respects enough to follow whatever that person says. So even if the number 2 makes a decision that Crasham doesn't agree with, that Crasham will back his play because he has the respect for that player, that person, to do that. And I know me and Inko have that. And I would encourage every alliance to have that, because just one person can't run a top 4 alliance by themselves. It takes many people to make everything run smoothly and happen in a timely manner.
So part of the reason why Cube and MRFM merged originally was because Crasham said that he was too busy to deal with a lot of the management stuff. And Berg even said, well, hey, I'm going to be more available to address concerns, and that's we're going to make this alliance a lot more successful. And it just seems like, as Handy said, it's just everything just keeps falling back to Crash. Like and yet Berg claims to be second in command and to be able to make these decisions, and yet then he becomes unavailable or stops communication, or he gets upset and he leaves the chat, which Handy and Nico have seen multiple times now. Just discussing certain things, and that's not how a leader should be in that regard. So I agree with Handy. I mean, I think that at least say, hey, we're still kind of discussing this. Hey, this is kind of what we're kicking around. What do you guys think of this?
In Berg's defense, he has been working on it, and he has been trying to address our concern. So I have, I appreciate the effort he is putting out currently. I just would really hope that it continues and shows fruit, because that's the main thing. I mean, we need to be able to deal with issues, and so far it's like, yeah, we're addressing it. Yeah, we're still talking about it. Yeah, we're working on it, and we just never get a resolution. And then something else gets brought up, and the thing we were still trying to get closure on gets swept under the rug a lot of times. And that's the main issue, and that's why we're where we're at today, is because you have 50 different issues over the past year that have all piled up and still in the back of our players' mind. Like, they never got any resolution, they never got an answer, and they may not even remember what the issue was. They just remember, God, I don't like that guy. And it's because they had an issue and it never got resolved. And those kind of things stick with people. So I just think it's really important that we address issues.
Guys, don't pile on dogs, all right? He'll stick Klingon accounting on you, okay?
Well, this isn't just to dogs. This is to
I'm just saying.
Any alliance, any alliance on the server, really. It's just important to take real grievances seriously. Like if an admiral or a commodore is talking to you about a problem, it's because it's a problem, and it needs to be addressed.
And that's one thing I want to, and that's one thing we saw with 4 podcasts, and I tried a year ago, and it is hey, I don't even, I remember telling those guys the same thing. I've told several, including Graz, I don't even know why we're fighting. Do you guys want to end it? Yeah, we have issues with each other, but what really started it, probably with me and MRFM, was probably me back in the days of Dirt when we hit everything. So I'm not saying MRFM doesn't have a reason to hit me. They have bad blood just like I do. But I was willing to put it aside a year ago, and they said no. So we can try again. That's why we're here, and I'm fine with that. Like I said, I've always had a lot of respect for dogs. And that's
the reason they said no is because they didn't want to be hypocrites. And if you were out there hitting other people, they didn't want to also be hitting. You know what I mean? Or stop hitting you and then be a hypocrite.
No, I respect that. That's the game. They can play. I like they respect the game.
Guys, it's time to wrap up. Dogs, I'll give you the last word.
The last word will be Handy. I've heard, and TwistedEvil, I've heard you guys, so I will discuss this with Crash and Berg, right? So I don't need to recap, right? But just wanting to let you know, message heard, right? Maybe I'll take a more active role than what I have been, because I've just been concentrating on the game itself and just having fun, kind of, ignoring the political side of things. And then 2 is, Chef, send me a list of what it would take to have peace, and then we'll work on it.
I don't think if you want to talk for 10 minutes, that would be a lot easier, and it wouldn't take much. I mean, because I like I said, I have a lot of respect for you. Crap happens. Let's talk 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Feel free to join the after show after we're done. But Dogs, Chef, Boogie, all the guys from Server 12, Gooch, Bundy, JaneTheWay, and Sharoc, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Special shout out to B for coming on. And hopefully sometime soon we'll get Cook back. He's a regular Roddenberry. He's written a sci-fi novel and has a book series in play. Hopefully it'll be turned into a very successful TV series, and we'll hear all about him. And I want to thank everybody for being here, everybody for listening. Thanks for the support, comments, likes, and subscriptions. Thank you all for listening. I'm TechMan16.
And I'm Strange Handy.
And we'll see you guys next time.